Ellie, it must feel like an age ago since that historic election for the Green Party, but how has life been as an MEP so far?
It's been great actually, Aaron, yeah. It's been busy, definitely. Been hectic. I took up my seat officially just this week on Tuesday in Strasbourg, but I've actually been in Brussels every week before then for meetings with my political group. So yeah, it's a busy lifestyle, but I'm so happy to be in this role now.
And why do you think it has actually taken so long for the Green Party to get their first member of European Parliament in the West Midlands?
Well, I think, you know, the Greens have built up a presence in the West Midlands over a number of years, and we've had Green Party MEPs in other parts of the country for a long time. So since 1999 in London, also in the South East, and then 5 years ago Molly Scott-Cato in the South West. But it's only this year that we've broken through in 4 new regions, including the West Midlands. And I think there's 2 reasons why we did so well in the West Midlands. You know, one is the green wave, obviously, the growing level of public concern and awareness generally, particularly about climate change. That definitely helped to boost our vote. But the other reason is that we've kind of built up a really strong presence in the West Midlands at local level. So in the early May elections, we significantly increased the number of local councillors, and it's on the basis of that kind of strength at local level. People see Green councillors doing good work, representing them well, and they think, yeah, I'd like some more of that, please. And so now we've got an MEP.
It's already been quite an eventful start to European Parliament, the Brexit Party dominating some of the headlines, not for all the right reasons there. But looking ahead, what are some of your biggest priorities as an MEP? What are you going to be delivering for residents here?
Well, of course, we don't know how long we're going to be in the European Union, and I've got 2 kind of big overarching priorities, I suppose, for the next 4 months. The first one of those is to keep us in the European Union. You know, Brexit will be immensely damaging to our country and to this region especially. And I think that there's been a lack of understanding of the European Union, and that's kind of fueled a bit of a backlash against it. But what we've actually seen in the last 3 years is that this country's got problems that aren't going to be solved by exiting the EU. In fact, our problems are going to be made worse by coming out of Europe. So that's my number 1 goal. You know, we should stay in Europe and work constructively with our friends and neighbours, and then turn our attention to the problems here in the UK. My second big goal as an MEP is to push for the action that we need to tackle the climate crisis. So we're seeing increasing amounts of kind of warm words coming out of politicians, including Theresa May, but we need to make sure that's not just so much hot air, basically. We need to make sure that they also make the commitments to the policy changes that will deliver that. So you can't commit to zero carbon but keep on going with airport expansion and fracking and things like that. Instead, you've got to invest in public transport, you've got to invest in renewable energy, you've got to invest in energy efficiency. So those are the policies that I want to see brought forward, and we've got to do that by working cooperatively with our neighbours in Europe.
And just sticking on the climate change, we've seen local authorities across the UK obviously declare climate emergencies, and as you say, it is getting a lot of the headlines now, local, regional, national and worldwide. Do you think, is there a difficulty trying to get people on board as they may not believe it's going to actually affect them, these climate change, repercussions in the future? Is that a difficulty that you have faced on the doorsteps, or you see?
Not now, no. I think people now really understand the urgency of this, and there's been a bit of a sea change over the last sort of 6 months, really. And I think, groups like Extinction Rebellion and the school climate strikers led by, Greta Thunberg's example, and David Attenborough as well, all of these people have helped to kind of bring it up the agenda. And so the majority of the population now realise not only that climate change is happening, but that it's really urgent that we do something about it. Now, in this country for a long time, the majority of people have accepted the reality of climate change, but maybe haven't quite had that sense of urgency, and that's what's new to the debate now. That's a really positive thing. We have to channel that sense of urgency into positive action, into policy change, and not into feeling hopeless, but into really doing what we need to do. And we absolutely can do it. The policies are there. It's the political will that's been lacking. So I'm really pleased that the increased showing for the Greens in the European elections and in the local elections kind of just reinforces the message to other political parties. They need to take the climate crisis seriously.
And Brexit causing somewhat unprecedented division, I think, across the UK. Brexit Party obviously swallowed huge amounts of the vote in the West Midlands and across the rest of the nation as well. Can the Green Party win over those Brexit Party supporters, and if so, how do you go about doing that?
I really do want to win over Brexit Party supporters, and I think that, the Greens are in an interesting position in the political landscape to be able to do that, because actually what I found, I've only been in the Green Party myself for 4 years, right? I came new to politics, and what I found getting out and talking to people on the doorsteps is we do have a lot of common ground. Now, concern about the environmental crisis is one of those areas where there's common ground. Everyone's concerned about the world that their kids are going to inherit, the world that their grandchildren are going to inherit. And the Green Party can speak to people from across the political spectrum on that basis and kind of bring people together around that. And I think that, people realise that issues like climate change, you can't just fix them by action within your own kind of isolated nation. You have to work together across borders to fix them. So that's one area where I feel we can speak across those political boundaries. Another one is that the Greens have always been really clearly standing up for a fairer society. We have criticised austerity all along. We've argued that we have to invest in people. We have to invest in our kind of public services. And we have to deal with the fact that many people have been left behind by the economic changes that have happened in recent decades. Now, again, coming out of Europe isn't the solution to that. The Brexit Party has a very simplistic line. It says, everything that's wrong in this country is due to Europe. It'll all be fixed if we come out of the EU. And frankly, that's incredibly misleading. That is just simply not the case. Those problems of people being left behind, of an unfair economy, of inequality, of environmental damage, they will all be worsened by coming out of Europe, and particularly by a hard Brexit. That's a very dangerous path to go down. So I think that as Greens we have the ability to reach out, and in fact that's what I'm totally determined to do. So I'm going to be spending the summer out and about in the West Midlands region, talking to as many people as possible from all sorts of walks of life about Europe, about my role as an MEP, about how Europe really works, how law is really made, what powers there are in Europe and what powers we have actually here in the UK, and trying to kind of break down some of that misinformation really, and just reach out and listen to people as well, because that's my job as a representative.
Staying on that topic, local plans across the UK are emerging from local authorities, but much greenbelt across the UK is under threat. Do you believe it's possible to protect every bit of greenbelt across the UK, even with brownfields first policies as many local authorities aim to do?
I mean, I think there's a lot that we could learn from across Europe on planning policies, actually. I think it's true that we don't use the land that we have efficiently at the moment, and of course we have to have a brownfield first approach. I'd like to see, much more investment in ecologically sound housing in cities that, could involve combining building houses with green space. We've got to find places for people to live. Household size is decreasing as families split up. But that shouldn't be at the expense of protected areas. We all value green space in our lives. So I think that, clearly there's a balance to be struck, but you shouldn't protect areas of countryside and then say, oh, actually, we need to build houses on it, we better get rid of it. Actually, the protection's there for a reason. So we need to be innovative and kind of think around these problems and use the space in the cities. The other thing to say is that so much space in cities is taken up by roads and by car parks. There's some really innovative ideas out there around building housing units above car parks, for example. Now, if we shift gradually to an approach to urban planning where we prioritise walking, cycling and public transport, take cars off the roads, then that will actually free up some land for housing too.
And away from the hustle and bustle of politics, what do you sort of do to get away from life as a politician and relax?
I don't make model buses. I do gardening, actually, yeah. I play a little bit of music, so occasionally I get a bit of time to play in a band with friends. I've got 2 kids, 2 teenage boys, and they're really into football, so actually the spare time that I have, quite a bit of it is spent taking them around to football matches and cricket during the summer as well.